Welcome to the second part of the D3js introduction. Last lesson we did the introduction and the selections, our last part. Now we're going to do the dynamic properties. Here's an example of what we're aiming for in a couple days or a couple weeks. Alright, readers familiar with other DOM frameworks such as jQuery should immediately recognize similarities with D3. Its styles, attributes, and properties, these CSS, that's cascading style sheets. That's what we're going to do here. Dynamic CSS properties can be specified as functions of data. D3 of the data that comes in D3, not just as simple constants. That's how we're able to get multicolored graphs. We use CSS. So we use the selectors that we learned to select nodes from the document object model, SVG elements, and then we dynamically change the attributes and properties of their CSS. Alright, despite the apparent simplicity, these functions can be surprisingly powerful. For example, the geopath function projects geographic coordinates into SVG path data, GeoJSON format, for example. That's what enables us to do these type of visualizations. Now, if you're into geometry and trigonometry, really analytic geometry, like Descartes proposed, the purpose of geometry is to measure the Earth. It requires a little bit of both. They should teach this in high school, I think. They should teach analytic geometry rather than Euclidean, pure, Platonic solids and so on. Because the purpose of geometry is to analyze the world that we live in. It's not to contemplate abstract form. And our education system should change. Until then, we're going to do it right here. Anyway, into SVG path data. The paths are a specification that's now in the HTML standard. All the browsers implement it. If you want to learn more about that, SVG is available in any GIMP or Photoshop or whatnot, and now we have it in the browser as well. For example, to randomly color paragraphs, you might have to randomly color things in order to get a visualization like that, where the color or circle back in these things, the color might not represent quality of the essential individuals or species that are represented by these different bars or these different waves. The color is just a way of distinguishing one from the other, therefore it can be assigned randomly in some cases, and that's what we're going to do with this, to randomly color paragraphs. Let's try it out by opening our JavaScript console. I did Control-Shift-J to as the keyboard shortcut here. D3. You see here I'm using Chromium, but I think Firefox has the same keyboard shortcut, and you gotta learn these shortcuts in order to code fast, in order to reduce your latency and improve your style. Oh, see, it just had that stored from before because I already practiced this. But I'm going to type it out longhand, even though I can get it, because it helps to, because you might be tempted to copy and paste this. You might be tempted to copy and paste this snippet into the console. But by learning to actually type it out, you're going to contemplate, meditate on each expression in here and start to understand why it works the way it does, which is necessary for learning. Of course, you should copy and paste snippets. Once you're an advanced programmer, you'll understand why everything does what it's doing. But for the sake of learning, it's necessary to actually write out the work longhand. Now, I didn't conceptualize this solution on my own. I merely copied it. But to copy something longhand is a way of beginning to didactically learn, and that's the method of learning that we need to restore: didactic learning, repetition, shinantam lebanecha, as it were, to repeat it to your students or your sons, daughters, whoever you're teaching. You talk to your own inner soul. That's what I'm doing here on this screencast, and some of you may be my students. Okay, so what we're gonna do is randomly color the paragraphs. What's this doing? Select all paragraphs. Choose the color attribute of CSS and apply this function to that. And this function is going to this SVG function that's defined within the string, the JavaScript string HSL, is going to produce a random number multiplied by 360. This is going to be the saturation luminance. What is it? I don't remember what HSL stands for off the top of my head. Someone remind me. We'll give it to you next time. Alright, there we go. We just randomly colored these paragraphs. Just like these bar charts are randomly colored. But that's interesting. Alright, now we're going to alternate shades of gray for even and odd notes. D3, select all. Paragraph. Select every paragraph to its style selector, to its the P is the selector. Color is the attribute, and the property that we're assigning to that attribute is the value returned by this function, not by that. That was the last one. Return the modulo of I modulo 2. This is an if-then statement. If this is true, return FFF, which is actually close to kind of a white. And this is and if it's false, if it's true, that means it's even. If even, white. If odd, slightly grayer. Because we're using a hexadecimal numbers to define the CSS colors. If you don't know CSS, that's how it works. But this is, I think, not a good CSS color. It's too light. You might not be able to see it. Forgot the quotation mark there. Private field must be declared in an enclosing class. Quotation F color. Caught reference. I is not defined. Function di. Okay, yeah, we're passing this in. Okay, what are the arguments being passed here? The data. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll explain that in a minute. All right, there, you did it. But as predicted, it's a little bit too white to see, so we're going to change this to like say 777 and this to AAA. That should be more gray oriented. Alright, good. There, you see the even ones are 777 and the odd ones are AAA, slightly grayer. I guess this is even. It appears at the top, but I must select one of these as one. This is the second node apparently, because it's apparently this AAA color, slightly grayer. Okay, so that's how you get differentiation between lines and between rows in a table, for example, or bars in a bar chart. Dynamic properties. Alright, here's another one. Well, now we're going to, looks like, bound data. This is interesting. Computer properties often refer to bound data. Data is specified as an array of values, and each value is passed as the first argument D to selection functions. That's what this is. We're going to bind this data. There's an array of values, and we're going to bind it as the first argument that's passed to the function that we call on each node returned by the selector. The default join by index, the first element in the data array is passed to the first node in the selection, the second element to the second node, and so on. So this will return an array of paragraphs. 4 will be assigned to the first paragraph, 8 will be assigned to the second paragraph. And on each of those, this function will be called on its font size attribute. And to that function, we'll send an argument, and the argument will be that value of the array that's bound, the data that is array that is bound to the selection. All right, and then let's see how this goes. Select all paragraph style color function D. Function D. Now I'm doing a little code reuse here. You can reuse your own code once you know why it's doing and how it's doing what it's doing. And you can reuse other people's too if it's something that you understand. If you don't understand it, learn it. Okay. Data. We're binding an array. I'm going to define the array literal here. 4, 8. I'm going to do 14, 18. It's a little more distinct. 23, 42. And so now all these paragraphs are going to get a different size of font. Oops, unexpected token. Where's that? Unexpected token, parenthesis. Yeah, there's an extra dot right there. Debugging. Okay. Well, the function executed with no uncaught errors, but it didn't actually perform what we wanted it to perform. Why is that? Didn't change the font size like we wanted it to. Why not? Oh, I was changing the color attribute, not the font size. That would be why. That should work. Oh, wait, that's not working either. What am I doing wrong? Debugging. Oh, well, it did work, it seems like, just not on everything. There, I just changed the font size of the first, these couple paragraphs. But not the, oh, yeah, that one. That's well, look at that really small. That's the array. 4, 8, 16, 18, size 23, size 42 pixels. And then after that, it reverts to the default. So we see that this array does not repeat. It exhausts the array, and then the style reverts to its previous font size. That's an important thing to know, and we just learned it through testing. If you don't know the length of the array, and I didn't know how many paragraphs there are, then you might not get the right size of data bound array to bind to that selection. Okay, so there's a potential gotcha that we just are now aware of, and that's why testing these things is important when you're learning. Anyway, so we're gonna do the entering and exit selections next time. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on Observable HQ. I'm Jared Scribe.